you choose which Fast X review to watch? What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fast Family. Welcome to Fast X. I haven't recorded a Fast and Furious review in like a year and a half or 2 years. I did 1 through 9, or 1 through 9 plus Hobbs and Shaw like year and a half ago. They were like an hour and a half long each. I went back and actually edited them and chopped them down, which is what you guys see. But I haven't done this in a while, dude, and I'm excited. We got a new setup here. We got Fast X. We're recording in cinematic mode, to be honest, on my iPhone. So hopefully this looks good. It might be in and out with the blurriness, but guys, we don't have friends, we have family. First of all, welcome to Project Potter. My name is Kyle, your host. Thanks for checking out Fast Family, guys. I appreciate you guys. Go check out the other reviews, of course, guys. Because this movie is so big and so new, I'm going to give kind of a spoiler-free kind of opening thoughts on the movie, and then we're going to dive in deep, heavy spoilers, guys. So if you guys are wondering, should I go see this movie? The answer is yes, 100%. I think it does actually a pretty good job of standing on its own. They do kind of sort of like a soft recap of a lot of the big events, but you're not going to get as much out of it if this is your first Fast movie. But if this is your first Fast movie, dude, what are you doing? Go watch all the other movies. I think it's a really high quality movie. I think it's a great time. I think if you got nothing else to do or you want to go to the movies, I think it's a good date movie. I think it's a fun popcorn blockbuster summer fun movie to go see. So it's entertaining as all hell. I think it's a good return to form. And going into Fast X, it was really high on Fast 5, which I think a lot of people think is the best Fast movie. Fast 5 was our number one, guys. I think I gave it a 9.8. Loved Fast 5. Fast 6 was good, but not great. And then 7 and 8 were just awful, dude. And then Fast 9 was okay, but it was pretty forgettable, dude. And they rushed John Cena in there. And I'm happy to report that this is closer to Fast 5 than any of the last installments, and I had a really good time with this movie, and I think it's worth a watch for sure. And it's really fun, and it's maybe a bit too long, but I think go check it out, guys, in theaters. Also, this is the first Fast movie I've seen in theaters since I think Fast 5, so it's been a while for me, and I forgot, dude, how great it is watching a Fast movie in theaters. The sound's amazing, the big screen. It's a special franchise, and I was really glad that I went out and saw it, and just had a great time. So that's going to be it for the spoiler-free section, guys. Go see this movie. It's a good time. You won't regret it. If nothing else, it's some dumb fun, and, you know, they're setting it up. This is part 1 of 3. We thought it was part 1 of 2, but then Dom was like, actually, there's 3 parts, and this movie does end on a cliffhanger, and so this is the first Fast and Furious movie that the credits rolled, and I was immediately like, give me the next one right now. And this is also the first one, I think, because I got into the series late, where I'm not able to just put on the next one, right? I'm not just home being able to put on Fast XX. I hope they call it Fast X, Fast XX, and Fast Triple X, or Fast XXX, because that would be a missed opportunity if they don't do that. I have to wait, you know, like everyone else, and we're probably getting it, I'm assuming probably next year. I can't imagine they wait 2 years. I think they're probably going to film them back to back. I don't know, guys, but yeah, man, the credits rolled, and I was like, I want more right now. So a good return to form, a great time, a fun movie, dude. So go check it out. But that is officially going to do it for our spoiler-free, guys. If you haven't seen these reviews before, what I do is give a 10-second car, which is my favorite character. I give a Never Had Me award, which is my least favorite character. We give a score of 10, and we give the rankings, of course. So, guys, let's go. Jason Momoa goes full psycho in this movie, and I'm mostly here for it. Now, they could have tuned him back a little bit. He was, to me, kind of channeling like a Joker, Heath Ledger kind of vibe. He doesn't quite hit that, obviously. I mean, who does? But he did a really good job of playing a psycho, and I was really into his performance. He's a little silly. He's a little goofy. There were times where I thought it was funny. I was laughing at a lot of his stuff. But I thought a couple scenes, I wanted them to go a little bit darker with it, and instead he went like a little silly with it. And it was still good, but they talk about how he's basically like shown sociopathic attributes like from a young age, and he's got a decent motive. It's like goofy when the beginning of the movie comes out, they steal a safe. It was cool to see number one, Paul Walker's face on the big screen again. That was awesome. And I wasn't sure, it seems like they're kind of saving some stuff. It seems like they're kind of waiting to bring back Paul Walker. And I'm sure The Rock will be back. I was expecting The Rock in this movie, so when he didn't show up, I was kind of like, oh, okay, we were missing The Rock there. But if they're doing a 2 and a 3 part to end the franchise, I'm sure Brian's going to come back in some sort of way. Hopefully they do it tastefully, but his fingerprints are all over the franchise. And to kind of reintroduce him or replay those scenes from 5, I thought was like an interesting, like, okay, this is where we're going. And then we have a big reveal at the end that I'll get to in a bit, guys. But really goofy when the vault goes out and then it's like clearly reshot, and Jason Momoa sitting there and he does like his best, like, just like weird face, like, trying to look like menacing, but he just looks kind of goofy. The thing about Jason Momoa's like goatee, facial hair situation too is like a little goofy at times, and he does a great job of, like, when he shows up, he's in like Brazil at the end, and he's like walking around, he looks like Shantae or like Shazam, and he's like, oh, I'm Dante. He's like, not Shantae, and he's like doing his little like thing, and super charismatic. He was really funny and just so deranged, and I love how there were like real stakes in this movie. First moment that really caught me was when Dom is, I think it's in Brazil, when they're racing, and the racing is awesome, dude. There's some fire transitions in this movie, and the racing is awesome. But when Dom is like, let's race, I was like, oh, dude, let's go. And they play Gasolina in this, and I was hoping we'd get like a 6 days from Tokyo Drift, or I was hoping we would get like just maybe like a throwback or Danza Akaduro, like the Fast and Furious song. But they had some bangers in here. There was definitely some hype moments. I was just having a great time in the theater, dude. Like snacking away on my popcorn and just like vibing out. And the audience was laughing at a lot of the jokes. How do you choose, Dom? And this was like from the trailers, and we get that awesome shot where, dude, it's like showing all the cars, and it's like it's so hype when they're like coming out from the cars, dude. Like, how do you choose who do you save? First wife, I forget her name. It's not Letty. It's the other girl. She died. The cop that was in Fast 5. Her sister, we find out later, and then this dude who was just like helped out Dom last time, he went to Brazil. Momoa puts bombs on both of them, and then he says, how do you choose which one to save? And it's like, oh, that's the first time I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting. And he chooses to save the girl. We later find out, like, he's like, oh, you smile like your sister with your eyes, it's really sweet. And then the other dude just dies, dude. And it's like, I was like, oh, this franchise is like, you can walk away from anything. But I think that dude died, and it was really impactful when it showed just the car engulfed in flames and Dom like knew. And that's when you started to feel like Jason Momoa's character. And I love how he's like, don't let them out easy with death. He's like, suffering is what we need. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool motive, that he's like, I don't want to just kill you guys, I want you to suffer. And I remember those scenes, and then they like show the old scenes, and then they like clearly just reshot it, and then it's like, oh, guess what, Jason Momoa is standing right there, and it's like, it's so easy, like obviously retconned. But it did work for me for the most part, where he was like, look, you killed my father on this bridge, but then that didn't end up being really anything. But one twist at the end, I guess we'll just kind of jump around here, guys. Mr. Nobody being on the side of Jason Momoa, I thought was a great twist. Now we see them shoot the plane, and the plane looks like crashes into the mountain and blows up. I'm sure they're not dead, because that plane had Rome. I don't know if Letty was on there, but basically the whole crew, Ramsey, like the whole crew was on that plane. So I thought that was really interesting, because again, the stakes were there, and I was like, oh. But this, knowing that there's 2 more parts, I'm like, they're obviously not going to kill Dom's crew, because there'd be no movie. But we don't see them in the wreckage. I'm sure the next movie, Fast XX, I'm sure it's going to start, and they're going to be escaping out of the wreckage, or they're going to be badly injured. But it looked like they died. But Mr. Nobody being like, yeah, Dom, everyone thinks you're going to, or maybe it was Momoa, where he's like, everyone thinks you're going to choose your side, but Dom, like, he's like, that's not how it works. Everyone's not going to be your family. And I just thought it was really, really good. And alongside that, I thought Brie Larson was really good in this movie. And I also thought Cypher was much better. This was the first time I like really enjoyed Cypher's character. And she seemed witty and normal and badass. And her fight scene with Letty, dude, was brutal. Like, I mean, Letty throws glass in her eyes, dude. I was like, Jesus. And she like slams Cypher's face like full force into like, I think, a glass table or something, and I was like, oh my god, like that was crazy. And Letty gets slammed against the thing, and I love when she goes up and she climbs up and she realizes she's in Antarctica and she's like, oh god. And as soon as they were in there, I was like, oh dude, we're gonna get the sub again. I forgot how hot Michelle Rodriguez was, dude. Like, oof, Letty's looking good in this movie, dude. The end scene, guys, the great reveal, the sub comes up, and guess who is there? Is Gal Gadot. Giselle is alive, dude. Now I'm so excited because we're gonna get Han Giselle reunion next movie, and that's gonna be incredible. Again, assuming they're alive, they're not gonna kill the crew off. Which is like why I kind of wish they saved that twist until like the last movie, because if this was the last one, you know, like everything's at stake, people might die, and this doesn't seem like a franchise that's gonna kill people off. But I'm also like, so that kind of felt like a fake out with the plane crash, but we'll see kind of if anything comes of that. The action was, albeit a little ridiculous. I mean, when they're chasing the bomb down towards the Vatican, dude, I was like, all right, like, but I was having like a great time, dude. I was just smiling ear to ear. And there's a couple times where I'm watching this movie where I'm like, this franchise, man. When Dom drives off of the bridge where he's like, I got you right where I want you, Toretto. And he's like, you didn't take my car. And then he drives off, and then the flames are exploding, and then he does the nos to get out of it, and then him and his kid go like into the water. I just remember a couple times being like, shaking my head, but being like, oh, okay. Like, but like not mad about it, just like, this is just what this franchise is. We got harpoons in like Fast 2. Can we get a new idea, please? He pulls the helicopters together, and when he's in the helicopter with Mr. Nobody, and he's like, Dom, there's nowhere to land, and he's like, who said anything but landing? I was like, oh my god. This is what you expect, and you expect some great humor, and I thought the crew was really good, and I thought the tech was cool, and I thought it was just a really well-made movie. And we get Jason Statham fighting Han, dude. He knocks over Han, and he's like, you ruined my snacks. And I was like, dude, it's so good. There's just a lot of really cool moments in this movie. I mean, they start with the barbecue, and dude, that was amazing. And they're so self-aware in this movie where Mr. Nobody's like, I don't understand. He's like, everyone's becoming family. And they're like, how long is this gonna keep going? Oh, okay. We get it. I really felt the warmth of the franchise in this one. The Abuela's there, and she's like, she says something to Dom where she says like, as long as you have your hope, you'll never lose your way or something. And I like was tearing up, dude, because it was so sweet. And she hugs him, and the music is warm, and it's just so nice to see them around. And I love how there's just like this dynamic between all these characters that you just grow to love. And it's still, we still miss Brian, and it's tough, but they're still paying homage to him. And you know, they start playing See You Again a little bit, and she's like, no, you're speaking well of him or something. I forget what she says. Momoa had them on their toes the whole way, and he's clearly going to return for the next one. And I don't know if he's going to go for Fast 3 or Fast XXX, I should say. But I liked a lot of elements of this movie. And in fact, I loved a lot of elements of this movie, and I just had a great time, man. I wasn't going in looking for like an award-winning storyline or award-winning acting, but we kind of know what this is now, right? Like, you know, some crazy shit might happen. And it's funny because Dom, first of all, I don't know why Dom reverses everything, dude. When he's going down and chasing the bomb, he goes down the stairs, which just looks so ridiculous because his car is just going like this, and his car takes an absurd amount of damage, and he keeps driving it. How is the car still running? And Dom just like never gets any serious injuries. He literally is like falling hundreds and hundreds of feet and careening into the side, and he just like, you know, doesn't even have like any scratches or anything. Dom is just a superhero now, and I'm completely okay with it. You just have to know that once you know that's what the franchise is, dude. I had a hell of a time, and I just love that scene where they show Momoa, and he's got the two dead guys who's like taped up like serial killer style, dude, and he's got like their faces taped, and one guy's like, and he's like, this guy, he's like such a stickler. I thought Momoa was really funny, and I wish they tuned it back a little bit, but I could have used maybe like 20% less of Momoa, but when he was on the screen, he had my attention, and he was entertaining me, and I was impressed with how much life he gave to that character, where he goes ready for this, ooh, and every time he was like cheesy like that, he's like, remember, I have your family, so you can't do anything. And I was like, oh, right, he's like reminding them that like he's in control. And I thought it was clever how he went in and coming in as like the devil. I thought that was awesome. And Cypher is really badass. And again, I really, really liked Charlize Theron in this movie, which is crazy because like I hated her in the other ones. So I'm glad that they kind of corrected her character. But for Momoa to come in, dude, and then he kills the one guy because he's like, this poor bastard didn't have anything. He's like, not even a kitty cat. But he's like, the rest of you have something to lose. And he sends them videos, or he calls them at the same time, and there's like hostage videos of all their families like taped up, and so they all work for him, and so he's like, come on nerds, and they're forced against their will, but like he basically uses all of his money and just buys everything. And Vin's like, you can't just buy everything. He's like, you can't buy the streets. And this is like the most dynamic villain probably the franchise has had. I mean, I love Carter Verone, dude, in Fast 2 or Too Fast, but this I think is the most dynamic villain and the most intriguing one. I loved Momoa's performance, dude. Thought it was really, really, really good and very twisted, and I thought there was an element we haven't really seen of the Fast and Furious yet. So I don't remember everything off the top of my head, but there were a lot of fun moments. There were some great transitions, and I love how they kind of went to different places like Portugal and London and Brazil, and it was just really good, and everything looked great. But it was just a high quality movie. Like, it was a very well made movie, and it wasn't just like 7 or 8. And I'm sure they heard the fan feedback where people, I'm sure, do not like 7 and 8, and this was much closer to 5. And so I was very pleased with this. I thought it was maybe a little bit long, maybe could have used 15-20 less minutes, but I wasn't really bored throughout the film. I was actually into it, and I was just happy at all the little moments they had. Dialogue was like really good, I think. And Statham tells Han, you still drive? And he's like, can you still drive, or can you still drift, or whatever? And he goes, what do you think? Momoa, like, kind of remote controlling everything, I thought was clever, but that did get old a little bit. But he was always just kind of like up on a perch or whatever. But then he gets on the bike too, dude, and he goes like psycho, and he did a little bit too much of like a sticking his tongue out at people. But I do kind of like that, how it fits into his character, because he's just unhinged, dude, and he like this is a game to him, and he's got the upper hand. And I love how he was outsmarting the crew, and just when you think like they were ahead, like he would pull something out, he's like, actually it's not gonna work, or he's like, Dom's good but he's not this good. And I just thought it was really, really a fun time, and it was just great to be back with the Fast family, dude. I love this movie being like, this franchise is amazing, dude, and it's so self-aware, and it knows what it is, and it's got those heartfelt moments, but it's got the crazy over-the-top action and crazy scenarios. And it's like, you're gonna see some stuff in a Fast and Furious movie that you're not gonna see in any other movie franchise. So I went in expecting some great stuff, and this was kind of like the greatest hits, where Mr. Nobody says like, yeah, and then they went to Dubai or Abu Dhabi or whatever, and it shows them like flying between buildings, and it's like Fast and Furious has gone so crazy, like they went into space and everything, that it's hard for them to come up with like crazier stuff. So I'm sure they got something cooked. I think they're saving some stuff for Fast XX and Fast XXX, but I really enjoyed my time, and I thought this was just a really fun movie overall. My 10-second car, who's my favorite character, it's Jason Momoa, dude. I thought, even though this movie was about Dom, and I thought Dom was great, and Vin Diesel, he just embodies that character so much, and he's such like a lovable giant now. But he's so good as an action star, dude, especially as Dominic Toretto. I love how Momoa just brings a different element, and I love how he's like, Dommy, come on, Dominic, come over here, and he's just messing with them, and he seems like this like goofy, like relatable guy, but then he's got your family hostage, or he's pulled this next step, or he's got bombs everywhere, and it's like, he's really, really just tapped. We haven't really seen that. We've seen menacing villains, but we've seen kind of cookie cutter villains, and I think Carter Verone is the closest thing we had to just like a monster. But like, this is a different type. This is like lost all his marbles, but very, very intelligent. Like, he's not some dummy who's just like, sending goons out there. It's like, he's thinking how to beat this crew, and he's carefully calculated this, and he said like he's watched Dom on all these missions, and it's like he's trying to figure out how to take him down. And it seems like every time Dom was like, oh no, I'm gonna get out of this, like Samoa had another step, and it's like he had backup plans for backup plans. And it reminds me of something like a Doc Ock, or like someone who's just like always thinking ahead and like outsmarting the heroes. And I love that. Anytime you can bring me like an enticing villain, that's why like Thanos is so good, is that they're not just going to be defeated or not just have a big army. It's like they're going to outsmart you. And I thought that was great. And just from the jump where he was like taking over the truck and he's like driving around, and just like love how he took over Cypher. And I love how he's got all the guys working for him, and they don't want to work for him, but they know they have no choice because they're not going to let their families die. And I just thought he was really, really good at knowing like people are easily manipulated when you take the things that they love And so I love how he's like going after Dom's kid because he knows Dom's gonna come after his kid. I didn't really mention this, guys, but John Cena, his sacrifice, dude, I thought was really well done, and I thought his character, when he says like, "Thanks for showing me the light, Dom," I thought that was amazing. And of course, Dom's kid, when he jumps into the car, of course, it's like both cars are out of control, like sideways drifting, and he's like, "You gotta feel it and jump," and then like the kid jumps like 5 feet through two super fast moving cars and like lands perfectly. Ridiculous, but again, I'm like, of course he's gonna make this jump. I will say I was very let down that, not let down, but when he took out the cassette tape, dude, I wanted John Cena so badly to play the Peacemaker song. I don't know if they could have done that, but I really wanted that song to come on. Like, "Do You Want to Taste It?" And I was really excited for that, but I've seen so many like Cena dancing memes, or when he's like doing the thing. As soon as he started dancing with Little B in the car, I was like, this is great. And I thought their dynamic was great. And he's like, "I love you, Uncle Jacob." And it's sweet, but I think John Cena did just the right amount to kind of come in. His character wasn't very likable in F9, I don't think, but I like how Dom kind of turned him, and I love how he was much more fun and much closer to his Peacemaker character in this movie. And I think he, goes out, he's like, "I'm going to clear the way." And I think he just got a nice send off, and I don't think he overstated his welcome. I think he was in and out, and it's like, okay, cool. It's a little weird that they waited 9 movies to introduce him and then killed him off the next movie, but it's fine. Although, would anyone be surprised if he survived the wreck next movie and they're like, "Oh, actually, I crawled out from the burning wreckage"? Like, if Han can survive, dude, anyone can survive. I do think he's dead for good, but also, I mean, how many times have the Shaws died, and Shaws don't die. So Momoa, I think, was great. I think he was really fun. I can see how people might get annoyed at him after a bit, because after a little bit I was kind of like, okay, this is a little too much, but I still really enjoyed it, and I can see why that might be a complaint, but I loved his performance, and I thought he was the strongest one in the movie by far. They Never Had Me, which is my least favorite character, I'm going to say Mr. Nobody, or Mr. Nobody Jr., or something. I don't know. First of all, guys, can we talk about how Little Nobody, completely forgot he was even in this franchise, dude. I think we haven't seen him. Well, he's probably in the last couple. I think he was in Fate of the Furious. But I forgot he existed. So when he's driving around, I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, he looks familiar. And they're like, "Oh, good job, Little Nobody." But then I think he dies. I don't even remember if he dies, honestly. He's not in like most of the movie, so I think he did die. And we have like a new Mr. Nobody, and I'm like, okay. And that guy looks super familiar. I'm sure he's like a professional athlete or a wrestler or something. I thought he was pretty good, but I think he was my least favorite character because he was just kind of the guy in charge. And his twist at the end, or I guess it's Samoa's twist, is really good and actually genuinely got me. And I was like, oh, when he's standing there and he's got like the bazooka, I thought that was great. I thought that was a great twist. But his character, I thought, was just the big, bulky, tough guy with a badge, and he was good. I don't want to paint this picture that like the actor was bad, because I thought he actually was pretty good, and even like his dialogue I thought was pretty great. But if I'm picking a least favorite character in this movie, which I am because that's what we're doing in this series, he's my least favorite because I just was kind of like, this guy is just kind of the guy in charge and the guy who's got the resources and all that. So I was more impressed with the twist than the character itself, but Mr. Nobody, or new Mr. Nobody, I guess, is the one that never had me. Hey guys, that brings us to the score, and guys, I have wrestled with this for pretty much since the credits rolled. Okay, and then I'm thinking about the old movies, and I'm like, where does this sit? And it's like Fast 5 was so great at a 9.8, and I was like, I don't think anything could beat that. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I don't know where this falls. I know it's high. I enjoyed a lot of it, but whenever I'm ranking these, right, I'm looking back, and I'm thinking about the cast, I'm thinking about the writing, which, to be fair, the writing isn't usually very high, but I was very impressed with a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the writing in this movie, and how much the story actually made a ton of sense. These things really do matter to me, and obviously we had great action. Obviously we had some funny moments. We had some great montages. We had some great locations. We had an entertaining villain. And I'm like, man, these are adding up. And so that's why I'm giving this a 9/9. This is the new number one, dude. I'm like, man, Fast 5 is so good. And it's just a great film. But Fast 5 has some lulls. And I don't know if there were any lulls in this movie. There's maybe like one or two small sequences. But this is a damn good movie, dude. This is a fun movie. It just feels like a culmination of a lot of the franchise coming in. And I'm going to shout out Kinda Funny right now, because if you guys haven't seen Kinda Funny, they're a very, very successful YouTube channel. A big inspiration as to why I even started my YouTube channel. So go check them out. They do Fast and Furious in review. Tim Geddes put out a tweet before I went to go see this movie, and he said, y'all are in for a treat. This is the Infinity War of the Fast franchise. And I was like, wow. That's high praise, dude. I was like, it's not going to be the Infinity War. I think when I was watching the movie, I was having a great time. And I was like, I don't know, was that the Infinity War of this franchise? And then when I'm sitting here and I'm recapping, and again, I forgot a lot of the stuff. There were a lot of scenes where I was like, wow, dude, that was really good. And that was a great payoff. And I've been waiting for that moment. And it really does kind of feel like the Infinity War, where it feels like, okay, we get this kind of Letty Cypher showdown, and it's like, you don't think that's a big deal, except when you remember that Cypher was bleeding out on Dom's mailbox, and that was kind of a nice little twist where we think that's like going to be Jason Momoa or someone, and you know, she like horror movie style wipes the blood on the mailbox, and then I just love how they're like, hey, someone's coming, little B, you know what to do. And then Letty gets the silencer on the gun, and I was like, dude, Letty's a badass. Dom like puts his hands on her outside where he's like ready to like wring her neck right now. She's like, you want to hear these words? The interaction with her and Boa, and she's like, I met the devil, and she's like, I thought it was me for the longest time. It's kind of embarrassing. Just all those little things, dude, where it's like, yeah, is it a perfect movie? No. But when we're ranking the Fast and the franchise, the Fast and the Furious guys, and I'm just thinking about all these moments, and the action was really great. I mean, it was really high intensity, very well made action, dude. I mean, we saw the shot in the trailer about when Letty takes the bike and she has to like put on the brake and like kind of goes over that little gate or whatever. That was awesome. Even though I knew that was coming, that was awesome. When Momoa's on the bike and he's controlling stuff and they don't know what to do, and they discover the bomb and they're like, oh, and they're diving in and out of cars and things are exploding and they're redirecting stuff. And I didn't mention it, guys, but Dom fucking hits a crane, and then the crane comes around and hits the bomb off and it explodes. But then like seeing the ramifications of like, they're like, oh, terrorist attack, and then they're under fire, and then it caused all the structural damage and people still got hurt. And loved when you saw Momoa and he's like, you know, basically playing dolls with that, and he's like a super funny, like chill dude, but then he's like a psychopath. And it's like, those are the scariest villains to me, where it's like they don't think they're doing anything wrong and they're murdering like hundreds of people. And it's the smart, intelligent ones that are the most frightening. So all of the action sequences were awesome. And again, just the different locations, the music. I think it's the best made Fast movie, and I think it's the best overall Fast movie. And when I'm thinking about like Fast 5, I'm like, do I want to rewatch Fast 5? And I'm like, Fast 5 is great. I love that movie. But there are parts of the story that don't really hook me. I was so invested in the story in Fast X that I was like, oh man. And end with the reveal of Giselle being alive in the sub. I'm like, oh my god, dude. And we better get Han and Giselle meeting. There better not be some bullshit where Han dies before he gets to see Giselle or something, and he never finds out that she's alive. Nah, dude. I knew number one. This movie slaps, and I had a great time from start to finish, and I recommend this to every single Fast and Furious fan to go watch this movie in theaters. I'm going to put the rankings up here. To be honest, I don't have the rankings in front of me, and I don't feel like getting up and reading them off, but you guys know. Also, we're filming in a different aspect ratio for this one, and I like this shot, but I'm going to have probably less real estate to put these on the screen, so we'll fit everything in here, guys. But these are the rankings as you see them. And the new number one, man, Fast X. That feels interesting to say, but it feels good. It feels good to be like, the Project Potter definitive rankings has got Fast X number one. And I'm interested to see what people think about this movie. I think a lot of people are going to like it. I'm wondering how many people love it, but hey man, that's why we have our opinions, right? Because we don't all think the same thing. This is number one, and I'm so excited to see what Fast XX is like. And now I'm like, are they going to keep Momoa for all three? Are they going to kill him off? Is there going to be one other big bad? I don't know, but he was such a great, compelling villain, and the action was so good that I'm like, I know they're cooking up some big shit. I know that they have some crazy set piece where we're gonna go to the theaters when the final Fast and Furious movie comes out and be like, holy shit, did you see that? We're gonna say this scene, like the building scene. We're gonna say this scene is incredible. So that's what I love about this franchise, dude, is that not only do you get the family elements and just like the heartwarming story, you get crazy over the top action, and you're gonna see some shit that you have never seen in a movie before, probably. What a journey, and I'm gonna cry for Fast. Triple X is what they should call it. Okay guys, well that is our review of Fast X, a lengthy one here. I will try and edit this down a little bit, but also I'm going to give you guys an honest review and my thoughts, and I know I'm missing a lot of stuff, so you know, I'm going to look back at the reviews and spoiler cast and be like, oh my god, how didn't I talk about this? But I think a great movie. I think the new number one. I'm sure people are going to disagree with me on that, but man, I just had a blast with this movie from start to finish. And again, I underestimated seeing a Fast and Furious movie in theaters, how much that means, and how fun it is to drive home. Dude, when I was driving home, I was like, let's make sure we don't get a speeding ticket, because when you get in the car, dude, I put my car in reverse to back out of the AMC parking lot, and I was like, dude, I'm ready to just like peel out of this parking lot. There's gonna be speeding tickets will be up this weekend, but Momoa brings it, Vin brings it, the family, the idea of family, man, it's just so good, and the idea of pain and suffering too, and I won't get into it, guys, but appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for checking out the channel. Go check out the other content, guys. And now we wait for Fast XX or Fast XX or whatever they're going to call it. But hopefully next year, if not 2 years. But either way, guys, appreciate you stopping by. And till next time, guys, salute me, familia.